Let me get my Starbucks Frappuccino.
It's a special
to
day.
celebrate our 100th episode.
Give or take.
Give or take, arguably.
100 episodes.
But this is the episode we are deeming
Yes.
our 100th episode.
Yes. And because of that, we're doing something special, which we haven't done since our first episode we ever did.
Yes.
We haven't done this before. We're figuring it out.
Yeah. Hot takes.
Hot, super hot.
Two random guys, sharing opinions that no one else will. It's Keith and Ed. I just watched.
Two, it's full circle, baby.
A twofer.
A twofer. And it's also a full circle because we're in the spirit of how we started this show, which was to argue about our top 10 favorite films. Mm-hmm. I think we're each picking a film that we both like, or that individually we each like a lot.
Just outside of our top 10.
Yes, is there something about Mary just outside of your top 10?
Oh, we got a bleeder! Spoilers.
They've seen the title of the video, they know.
It would be in consideration. It would definitely be something that I'd think about. It's not in my top 10, but it's worth a thought.
Yeah,
I do enjoy it.
Dumb and Dumber and Kingpin are both in your top 10. So if you're not familiar,
you get your Fairley Brothers fair share in my top 10.
Yeah.
Where is
Zero Kubrick.
Yeah,
Two Fairley Brothers.
Because I respect. I'm never gonna finish the sentence.
Yes.
Where does On Golden Pond rank? Is that close to your top 10? How close
Absolutely.
to your top 10?
I would say it's in my top 20. So it's in that next 10, maybe next 15, 25, maybe it's 22 or something like that.
And that's something about Murray is definitely in my next 10, I would probably put.
Nice, yeah.
Put that in there.
Natural Bedfellows, the most natural double feature.
I guess it's not safe to have me around here, is it?
Exceptional, my ass.
On Golden Pond, and There's Something About Mary.
That's why people come here.
The spiritual sisters in the world of cinema. Yeah. A lot of people have pointed out, we're not the first.
Well documented. The correlations, you'll find out. The correlations are uncanny.
If you love one, watch the other. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Well, they're both comedies.
Are they? That's interesting. We're going to start with On Golden Pond.
We're going to start with On Golden, and what a place to start.
Yes, and we're going to do our best to not use profanity.
Have I cursed yet? I probably have.
I don't think either of us have done it, but we do it so naturally that it's hard to tell.
Yes.
We're stopping now. So if my grandmother, God rest her soul, was still alive, either of them, they could watch this episode. There's people our age that still have grandparents.
Impossible.
It's true. They're like, oh yeah, my grandma just turned 70. It's like, well, she was a tramp. She got we're cutting that.
Yeah. Well, Segue Kings, old people dying is a big theme of On Golden Pond. Where do you want to start? It's your stupid film. I want to swear, but I'm not. Your film.
I love On Golden Pond. I've loved it since I was a child. I've watched it more than anyone my age. I'm comfortable saying that. I'm still in my 30s, barely. And I would bet that I've watched On Golden Pond more than anyone else who's younger than 40 in the world.
I have watched it more than anyone else, and I watched it once. So, it's a low bar.
That's incorrect, Keith, because it was the second highest grossing film of 1981, after Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Neither one of us were alive at that point in time.
Just saying. That's one of my favorite things about On Golden Pond, is that it also makes me very sad about the state of cinema and big films today.
Yeah.
Is that this film, 1981, starring Henry Fonda, Katherine Hepburn, two all-time greats in the history of Hollywood, two of the best actors we've ever had. Jane Fonda, Henry Fonda's real-life daughter, plays their daughter in the film. And it is a dramatic comedic drama about aging and getting old, and a crotchety older man and his lovely wife who are sort of put in a position where they have to host a teenager for the summer. And he has a very strained relationship with his daughter in the film, which mirrors their real life dynamic, which adds a really interesting fold to it. So I love the movie. We're going to talk about all the reasons I love the film.
I do want to talk about, I'm just curious about learning more of their real life situation in there. I don't know much about it. I didn't know that it was strenuous.
Yes.
So I'm curious about that. We don't have to start there, but.
This is as good a place as any.
Is that what you guys want to know?
They're ready to move on.
We're not even talking about the film.
Well, no, because it is a huge part about the film. Jane Fonda purchased the rights to this play. It was a stage play first on Broadway. She purchased the rights.
The film reads like it's
does.
one location.
Yes.
It's sorry.
No, it's all right. It's very play-like.
Yes.
But yeah, she purchased the rights because she was interested in having her father play that role. Henry Fonda, the all-time great actor, was nearing the end of his life in the production of this film, very much so. And she historically had a very troubled relationship, a distant relationship with her father, Henry.
I was able in the movie to say things to him that I could never say in real life. And we had a resolution in the movie that we didn't fully have in real life.
Who was generally reputed to be kind of an asshole like in real life, like very distant.
So is he very much like this character in real life? Again, I don't know.
I don't know. I never met the man, but the sense seems to be that like he probably wasn't even as warm as this character. Like this character is probably more friendly than he was. Like he just seems like he was. He's accused of being like just a blatant narcissist and just was not interested really in his children, and it was just kind of a cold person. Bounced from wife to wife. His second wife, Jane Fonda's mother, I believe, if I'm correct here, after he left her, was so distraught she had to be institutionalized, where she killed herself. So there is some darkness in the past for this family to overcome. So the dynamic between Jane and Henry in this film is there's undercurrents there.
Sure.
Which adds, like I said, a layer to it of like, oh.
In this film, it didn't seem very clear. I think they left it open for a little bit of interpretation as to what their issue was, like in the film.
My father is a goddamn bastard.
He was a jerk, a curmudgeon, not really affectionate, caring.
Yeah.
But there was never like a,
Yeah.
oh, he did this
thing. Yeah.
This thing happened, which maybe on purpose.
Yeah, to me, it just seems like he's just, kind of a prick. Just like kind of didn't really pay attention to her as their only child, I think, in the movie.
Yeah.
But I love this movie and loved it from the time I saw it. I was trying to think about why I loved it so much as a kid. Because
you as a kid just fascinates me. That's all I think about when you're like, me as a kid and you as a kid watching movies.
Yeah.
Just like you have this rich taste for these deep themed, adult-natured content. I don't know how else to describe it. And I like people falling down and farting.
Yeah.
As most kids, I think, do.
Yeah, you liked Hook.
Like, where does that come? Like, how do you like this movie as a kid?
I honestly don't know. I think it was probably, I was introduced to it by my grandmother, who introduced me to so many classic films.
Did she love this movie?
She did love this movie. And so it was something her and I kind of bonded over. And I think I had a sense of like old Hollywood. Like I really respected like classic actors. So like Henry Fonda, Katherine Hepburn especially. We're big fans of Katherine Hepburn. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, an episode we did. Like it to me, that On Golden Pond felt like a big deal. And then because it was something I could watch with my grandma, because I thought and still think that Norman Thayer Jr. is like a hilarious character. Like his crotchetiness is all-time great stuff.
They're a nice middle-aged couple, just like us.
If they're just like us, they're not middle-aged.
Of course they are.
Middle-aged means the middle, Ethel, middle of life. People don't live to be 150.
And I think just in general, he's a fantastic character. So the movie just began to feel like this familiar hug that I could feel all the time whenever I'd watch it. And I'd watch it weekly, at least, as a child. It was just like in the rotation. Fiddler on the Roof, Lilies of the Field, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, On Golden Pond. Like those were the four. Go to my grandma's house. Be watching those all the time.
That's so like, weird.
It is weird.
It's weird.
It's weird.
Is it?
But as I get older, I really love On Golden Pond more and more because I think, as a 5-year-old, it was just like, but like now it's
a
like,
good impression of a 5-year-old.
now it's like, holy shit, man! Like you really get holy smokes.
Oh, I didn't break first.
You really get into like the existentialism of it, and like the fear of aging. And then I really, really appreciate. I truly believe that the 2 lead performances are amongst the best in history.
In this film?
Yes.
Or just as actors in general?
No, of all time.
This film, specifically, these two
Henry
performers.
Fonda as Norman Thayer Jr. and Katherine Hepburn as Ethel, I think are 2 of the all-time great performances.
Okay.
They both won for Best Actor, Best Actress, respectively. The film won Best Adapted Screenplay, nominated for 10 others or whatever, including Best Picture. So I think that's the takeaway. Is like, there's some criticisms we can be had, but all in all, it's just like a wonderfully touching, I think, very well written, impeccably acted, mostly, film. I think that's what makes it special. What did you think watching it for the first time?
To speak for general audiences, this movie is a real roller coaster, I think. For me as a regular person, because the first half hour, I hated. Like I truly hated the first half hour of this because it just felt like spending time with their it was so accurate to like, this is what old people are like.
Yeah.
And maybe you can take it as a compliment. I don't necessarily mean it as a compliment. I was just like, why? I just couldn't begin to give a shit. I was like, this is just 2 old people putzing around this house for a half hour.
You just found like that funny? Like his little
I understand
quips?
that there was I began to laugh more as the film went on. And again, there's a lot that I want to say about this film. But just that first half hour is just like, oh, call your grandparents and talk to them for a half hour. That's what this is like. They don't know how to use the phone. They're just like puttering around. They're bickering with one another. Like,
Someone's at the door.
It's me, old Pope.
like old people do, which is very on the nose. On the nose might not be the right, but it was like just.
It's very accurate.
Accurate.
Very real.
Yeah, very real. I felt like the film didn't start until Jane Fonda showed up. Like that, I was like, oh, this is what's happening. Like this is the story. I didn't know what the film was even about.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know anything going in. I was like, what the fuck? Are they just gonna? Damn it! I'm just gonna refurbish this old home? Like, is that what this is? Like I couldn't find the journey. Like, what is this journey? Then when she showed up, and more importantly, when Bill showed up.
Dabney Coleman.
I love Bill.
Bill's great.
I immediately, from the first, I wrote it down on my phone. When he said something about like, I think I saw a bear.
Hello.
I think I saw a bear.
Like that first line is like such a great introduction. Like he delivers it perfectly.
He does a really great job.
And I laughed out loud a handful of times from him.
Yeah.
And then eventually throughout the film with other parts as well. It did get a little more funny as it went. But Bill really picked it up for me. Like I was just happy to see, I guess just younger people. Just a different perspective to be so ageist, I guess. Like I was so uninterested in the beginning part of this film.
Okay.
Once I got through this and then I met the daughter and Bill and you kind of go back and forth, it just felt more well-rounded. And then you meet the 13-year-old kid. He brings a different perspective. And then you start to see the dynamic of, that really hit me, like, again, personally, is it painted a pretty good picture from both sides of the coin. Because I'm in a unique position where, I have some issues with my childhood and my parents, things that I wish were different, with things I could shake my fist at. And you try and let go and learn. Life moves, pretty fast. You got to move on. There's a line in there.
Oh, Katherine Hepburn? That's a great
It's
scene.
a great line. It's like
just in essence, just being like, we all got problems.
Yeah, just fucking deal with it.
You want to just fucking, dwell. No, I love that scene.
Yeah, it's
like such tough, you got a chip on your shoulder and it is unattractive.
You have a great big chip on your shoulder, which is very unattractive. It is.
Get over it.
Like that scene, like I see that, like that side of it, but then also as a parent to a daughter, you know, wanting to foster a good relationship, and what like the other side of that coin is. I feel like I'm in a unique position where I can see both sides of how difficult this can be. So I say all that to say the movie really started to resonate more with me as it went on, and I started to see more of the heart of the film. And then I began to really enjoy it, and then I began to get, there's some emotional parts where you're like, there's a lot good things that happen, but it took me so long to like get there. By the end of the film, I was like happy I went through it. But I hated you the whole time. if that means anything.
That sounds like a win-win.
That was my There was like ups and downs, and I like it and I hate it, and I'm like, oh, this is boring. I was like, oh, this is really heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Is this guy gonna die?
Yeah,
like,
no, it sucks you in at
does.
certain points where I'm just like, especially now as I get older too, I'll tear up right now, where it's just like, oh, like I've seen it 1,000 times, literally maybe, and like. I'm just like, I was watching the second half of it today, and I was just like, oh my God, like the boat crash, like all that happening is really intense. And then that final scene where like, you're like, oh, he is gonna die. That moment when I think it's like a long take, and Katherine Hepburn is like trying to call the doctor going in and out of the house. And her performance right there, like that is top, like that got you the Oscar. You know, like that is like flawless, because it's so sad. And she is so endearing, and she's, you know, naturally like shaking and quaking and stammering and is doing so much by so real, but all like so dramatic. But then also like there's comedy in there where he's like, oh,
he's more comedic than she is.
Yeah, but she like, it's like what, you know, like tell me, Norma.
Yeah.
What is it, Norma? Like just like that little tone shift.
Yeah.
Yes. What is it, Norman?
Oh my God, it is just at the highest level. I really think that both Fonda and Hepburn are just like highest level.
Here's the thing that I think, the performances are the best part of the film. I think hands down, and I think they have to be, because there's really nothing else to the film.
Yeah.
It's you get to know these people, and then you begin to sort of, I don't want to say fall in love with them. For you probably did. But you really wrap your arms around them, because like the performances drive the film. The thing that I base like acting on, or a large part of it, is like how much do I buy, or do I sink in to these people, where they stop being these names, these people we know, these icons, and become these characters. Immediately, like these people are these characters.
Yes.
Like immediately.
Yes.
And it's that, to me, that's the difference in the film being like good to great, is their performances and how easily they embody this couple as a team and as individuals. Like they're really fully fleshed out people and as a couple, which I think is even more hard to do, because like it takes the two of you to do that. Like
yeah. I mean, I agree.
Totally. We did.
You know, it's people at the top of their craft. It's two all-time greats at the top of their craft, which is, you know, not to sound ageist, but like I don't know about surprising, but you know, like it's got to be harder too. Like when you get to be older and to like deliver stuff. You know, like Fonda. I don't think either of them had a success to this level in the decade prior. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of on the downturn because they were getting older. Fonda passed away right after this. You know, just I think the film came out in December of '81. They won the Oscar in March of '82, and I think he passed away right after that. He couldn't even attend the ceremony because he was so sick.
And the winner is Henry Fonda.
Oh, Dad, I'm so happy and proud for you. Dad, me, and all the grandchildren are coming over with it right away. Thank you.
So yeah, they are what drives it forward. My like probably controversial hot take is, I think everyone in the movie does really good. Obviously, they're the best. I kind of think Jane Fonda doesn't do that good. It's not even that she does bad, but it's like she's kind of acting in a different film. Her scenes, partially because of her performance and partially because of just the way it is. Those scenes to me are the corniest, maybe, like the most.
With any scene with her in them?
Kind of, because she's just sort of like, she's performing. I think that, if that makes sense, like her performance is a little more performative than Hepburn and Fonda especially. So she's kind of like doing these things and is just so upset and is really like nailing the, and to me like, and this is projection to an extent, I just like see her as this person who purchased the rights, and I feel like she's, you know, producing this a little bit, and there's some extended shots of her showing off her fabulous body. She is
a beautiful woman.
Height of, you know, her workout videos or right after, whatever. You know, it's like there's a little self-flagellation happening there, just a little bit.
I don't know.
And so I think that translates a little into her performance, where she knows that this is this big thing for her and her dad, and she's gonna just give it all. And whereas Hepburn and Fonda are like just pros, just like real. You know, they're not overdoing it at all. They're perfect. And it's not, again, not that she's bad, but she's just a little extra. And that combined with my other criticism of the film, which is like the direction is just so basic. Like, no offense to Mark Rydell, who was nominated for Best Director for this, but this is very like masterpiece theater on PBS, straight to TV.
Yeah.
Just it's not a lot of art in the direction.
No.
It's very safe. It's very play-like.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is very play-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the craft is the acting.
Yeah.
That's what the craft
And the
is.
writing. I think the writing's very good.
Sure.
I mean, it won Best Screenplay. It's pretty good.
That doesn't mean...
I know, but it also doesn't mean like it's like, I guess it's okay. Like it doesn't mean it's guaranteed the best.
I can have my opinion. It's garbage. No. What I'm trying to decipher is, you know, everything makes everything better. Like when you have an A anything, it makes the other things around it a little bit better. So like, the pause I have is, are the performances elevating the material? Is the thought I am thinking of.
Both. I think both. I mean, I think good performances will always elevate material, whether it's good or bad or average. I think the material's really good. I think
I'm not saying it's bad.
Particularly between the older couple and Hepburn, like we referenced, chastising Jane Fonda several times in the film.
Yeah.
She slaps her?
She slaps her in the face.
He is a selfish son of a bitch.
That old son of a bitch happens to be my husband.
That old son of a bitch happens to be my husband?
They said son of a bitch, and we should be able to say this, but
Yes.
they say that in the movie 1,000 times.
Yeah, they said bullshit a lot.
They say bullshit.
You like that word, don't you? Bullshit.
Yeah.
It's a good word.
They curse a lot, so
Yeah.
we should be able to curse during this episode, but they just put in a lot of swear words.
Yeah, which I think was also probably something I liked when I was a kid, because it's like I wasn't allowed for that stuff, but like this movie was kind of an exception.
Yeah, it feels more adult in
Yeah.
that sense,
Yeah.
too, when there's swears left and right.
Yeah.
Hey, buzz off!
Buzz off!
Ethel, what are you doing?
What do you mean, what am I doing?
Don't do that.
I did like that part of the relationship. Again, they didn't like overparent the kid, and that's not in their nature. It doesn't seem like in their nature anyway, but like letting them swear and like having this sort of like more buddy relationship. Like their relationship with the kid made me grow on. It was almost like me projecting. I was like, oh, they're common ground. They're, you know, I just, now it's too personal.
Yeah. I really think that Norman Thayer is like very funny and very endearing. They're both so, they're dynamic. The fact that he's so crotchety and that she is such like this eternal light of optimism, especially in the beginning of the film, because you just see the two of them, and like it makes it even more touching because she is trying to compensate for his gruffness.
Yeah.
So she's like just constantly trying to like cheer him up, make him cheery, joke through when he's like calling him, look at this little fat girl. Like
I wrote down a couple lines that did make me laugh, and that's just, I laugh out loud because you can't say it. Like,
Look at this little fat girl, Ethel.
again, I have a daughter. I can't imagine like greeting her and be like, "You little fat girl." It's like the first thing.
That's
he
what my
says.
dad used to say to my sister.
That's
They
awful.
call us fat girl and fat boy. Hey, get in here, fat boy, fat girl.
It feels like not a good thing to say to your daughter.
My favorite bit that I love that is like recurring for a bit is like when he's like,
What's so funny?
One of the lesbians expired.
Oh.
and then that's and then he calls it back.
You look sexy. I'm going to have to do some pretty fast maneuvers to catch up with you.
I have some other ties. You could come as Miss Apley.
Like that shit is so funny.
What he's probably my favorite scene, not the best scene, but the scene I enjoyed the most is him going back and forth with Bill.
Yeah.
I love Bill. I can't.
Yeah.
can't
Dabney
tell you
Coleman
enough.
is great.
It was fantastic, and they're going back and forth, and his performance of that like shaky, kind of like nervous energy
Yeah.
with his strong gruffness, like just really paired well together. And because he's so scared of those bears, and when he says, "Yeah, one of the bears ate one of the lesbians."
Yeah, came up here, ate an old lesbian.
When he came along here last month and ate an old lesbian.
Yeah, he just kept he was so obsessed with that. He just worked that into every punchline for a night.
Yeah, it was just funny.
And it's such a great performance by him because he gets to be like that gruff jerk, and he's very funny in that, and very probably relatable for a lot of people. But then like he's so vulnerable. Like he does such a good job of being vulnerable, which has to be hard as a guy who's damn near on his deathbed by the time he's shooting this movie. And to just be like so open about it.
Think it's funny being old? My old goddamn body's falling apart. Sometimes I can't even go to the bathroom when I want to.
The movie does a good job of letting you really see where he's at, like emotionally, with this, and not in a heavy-handed way. Which, and maybe that's to some of the screenwriting, to your point, I guess. But you really get it, and you really feel it, which is better than like just understanding it. You really feel his like, maybe it's insecurity or just like issues with it.
Yeah.
Steadily build over time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really beautiful. I think, like I said, my criticisms now as I watch it with a critical eye is like, and a criticism, like, you know, it was very well received when it came out, obviously, and was very successful and, you know, nominated for a ton of awards. But the criticism that you can see even back then was like some people thought it was a little too syrupy and safe and kind of neutered. You know, it's just it's very wholesome in a lot of ways. And I think that there's that a little bit.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm okay with it because the film it was what that's what the film was. Yeah. That I would have hated that film. Like if it was just so much, because it could have been so much like darker and heavier. Yeah. And like brutal to watch. Because again, for the subject matter, again, in my personal life, I was like, oh, I can feel some of this stuff that's happening. So if they laid it on too thick or too dark or too intense, like to me, that's what made the movie not good, but again, enjoyable. Yeah. I could laugh at those jokes and I could like enjoy, and I could root for these people. It was just because it was a little bit lighter. So I appreciated it. And that movie's done today, I feel like it's gonna really be.
Did you expect him to die at the end?
I couldn't believe it. I was like, I said it out loud, like no fucking way he dies.
Yeah.
No way, I couldn't, I was like, wow. And then I thought like, I'd be okay with it. Yeah. Like from a film standpoint, like, yeah, everything's kind of tied up.
They kind of set up for that.
Yeah. And then he didn't, I was happy. Yeah. Because I wanted him to live. Yeah. But I would have been okay. I just couldn't, I would have been like, whoa. Yeah. What an ending.
Yeah. It always seems like, it feels like he almost should. Not, you know, like, not should, but like he's going to. Yeah. Like I think, like if I was watching it new, I'd be like, oh shit. Yeah. He is gonna die. Yeah. Because It's obviously the theme of the film is he's pretty obsessed
He's been
with. So
obsessed with the whole time.
Tina,
and I thought it was, he just sort of makes amends. Like he did enough to kind of close, his journey kind of completed a little bit. Like it didn't feel hollow or a waste. It felt like appropriate for him to die at that moment. If he did. I was glad he didn't, I guess.
Shout out the kid, Doug McKeon.
Did you? I assumed you didn't like him.
I think he does pretty good.
Interesting. I would have thought you didn't.
Yeah, no, I would have assumed that too. But I think that, especially to hold your own. I think this was his first film maybe, and he hasn't done much after. But you kind of held your own. Not everything is perfect, but it's pretty good.
He does.
It's pretty good. Like in even some of the tougher moments, like he's holding his own. And I know those Hepburn and Fonda are getting up there, but you still gotta get in there and spar with two all-timers that are giving all-time performances. It's impressive. He did a good job.
Yeah.
I think Katherine Hepburn is just a hero. I love her. I've said before on this show that I think she's almost certainly the greatest actress of all time. I think she's just phenomenal and just such a awesome character in real life. There's so much you can look into her life. It's just such a ahead of her time, just kind of badass chick. Two little blurbs that I read about this that I like are in the boat crash scene, Henry Fonda and the boy wore wetsuits under their clothes because it was so cold and they had to be in the water for a while. And obviously he was in frail health, so they just wanted to be safe. Katherine Hepburn insisted on doing her own stunts, diving into the water, refused to wear a wetsuit because she wanted it to be more authentic. And I just love that. She was 74, you know what I mean? She didn't know spring chicken either.
Well, it was a great dive.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I didn't understand at that point why she dove into the water. You're on a boat. Bring the boat closer.
She was emotional.
Yeah, but now you're cold and wet. You're not helping anybody in that situation. It just didn't seem like the right decision to make. And then I got equally frustrated when the daughter, I'm just blanking on her name, the daughter, she gets slapped in the face, she gets angry, and then she just dove in the water.
They're all
why is everybody just diving in the water for no reason? They don't have to do that.
The film is called On Golden Pond, baby.
You gotta get in that pond.
It refreshes. It's a fountain of youth.
None of this needs to happen.
Yeah. The other blurb about Katherine Hepburn is I think the hat that Henry Fonda wears throughout belonged to Spencer Tracy, her longtime partner and who had been deceased by then. But that's pretty cool that she gave that to Fonda to wear, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah.
I think my favorite scene is when he is he's peeing. And he zips up his fly, and he gets his balls and his shafts stuck in the zipper.
Yeah. That really intimate scene. Segue Kings, motherfuckers, we're back.
All right, On Golden Pond. Okay, 2 thumbs up from Keith. You heard it.
It's not bad.
It's good. It's a $15 million budget, made 119.
Yeah,
incredible.
But back then it was such a different. I wish this movie could be made today. I wish.
Makes me sad. That
this movie will never, ever be made.
And if it is, it'll go straight to some streaming service, and it will all be shot on a blue screen.
Yeah,
they will have never stepped near a lake.
Yes, they won't even be together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the worst part.
It'll be a computerized Henry Fonda and Katherine Hepburn today. They'll just be you know what? It was great before.
AI. Yeah.
Speaking of testicles sticking out of zippers.
Speaking of, because we were definitely talking about.
Okay. Keith.
Here we are. Now the good stuff. People waited to have 45 minutes to get to the thing they wanted to see.
I'll give you 5 minutes on There's Something About Me. You're putting it near your top 10, so it ranks high for you.
Near my top 10, what I love to tell people about, remind people about, is the difference between good and what you like.
Yes.
This movie, I think, in terms of comedy, is better than I like it.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Here's what I'll lead off with. I think, objectively, if I started to make a list of, let's say, top 10 comedy films of all time, I think this is in that conversation.
In terms of objective.
Objectively, not my, like, I wouldn't put it in my top 10
Okay.
of like favorites, personal.
Okay.
But I think objectively, it's closer to the top 10. I'd probably put it around like 9, 10 of all time. And the reason, one of the reasons, not the reason, a reason, I wrote down 4 iconic scenes. Not lines, not bits, scenes. I can count 4 of those in this one movie. And I think, to me, that is impossible to do. I don't think most films have more than 2, maybe, of those like defining, everyone knows this scene. Everyone, even if they've never seen the movie, they know this scene.
Yeah.
And this movie, I think, has 3, maybe 4. I will name them if you'd like. Or you name them and say if they're the ones that I have.
The zipper sequence.
Correct.
Take a look at what this numbnuts did.
The dog fight between Ben and the dog.
Correct.
And
the most obvious one. Sorry.
I thought the zipper would be the most obvious one. That to me is the most timeless. Then I don't know for sure. I think, I mean, the hitchhiker?
Yes.
7-minute abs.
Okay.
Is not the most obvious one, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
3.
That's one of them. To me, like, I think it's I'm not gonna say the line.
I work with retards.
But it's Matt Dillon in the parking lot.
No, that's the line. The lines are different than scenes.
That's the funniest.
It's very funny.
That's funny.
It's very funny. We'll get back to it.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll get back to that whole, that general thing.
That's fucking comedy.
What you're talking about.
Yes.
The hair gel scene.
Oh, of course. I'm so sorry.
Of course. That is the most
yes.
famous of all the scenes.
I just ran out.
I was explaining that to Iman earlier, where I was just,
The hair gel
because he was like, I don't
I've
know
never
that
seen
movie.
I know.
And I was like,
I quoted Zoolander the other day.
it's the one where she put the semen in her hair. He's like, what? I was like, Cameron Diaz.
Just semen in her hair the whole time.
Just got cum all over her face.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've never seen that image. I was like, that's the image.
That's the thing. Yeah.
I'm embarrassed.
So to say those are 4.
Yes.
Again, I would qualify as iconic.
Yeah,
Qualify as iconic.
Yeah.
It's like everyone knows that hair gel. Whether you've seen the movie
Yeah.
or not, you just know the hair gel scene. You know the dick in the zipper. You know 7-minute abs. You know, like it's just and you know the dog fight.
Yeah.
You know the dog getting electrocuted. That whole dog, even though those are 2 different scenes, you kind of just meld them as one.
Yeah.
Where again, I think Ghostbusters is an all-time comedy. Not lines.
Yeah.
Scenes.
No, totally.
That's my point. And that's why I put it there.
I would give you that There's Something About Mary is one of the top 10 to 12 most influential comedies of all time.
Okay.
I don't know that I would say it's one of the top 10-ish best.
Do you think what I just said, does that not mean anything to you?
No, it means a lot. It means a lot. But that to me is more it being influential in a way. Like,
and why?
Because the strength of it having these iconic moments does not necessarily, and this is not trying to be critical of There's Something About Mary, but like the strength of those iconic moments doesn't make for a great film. You know what I mean? Like a great comedy film. So maybe I'm splitting hairs. That you can't overstate, for folks that are younger than us probably, who are less familiar with this film, how big this movie was. Like, this was such a huge deal when it came out in '98. Do you remember, like, this was like a cultural thing?
I did not see it out of the gate.
Yeah, me neither.
Which is like shocking to me when I like look back at it. I remember a friend going to his house and he's like, you have to watch this. Like, you gotta watch this. And I was like, what? Like, I just really didn't even know much about it. And when I watched it, it blew my mind for a couple reasons. Like, I will never forget how I felt at the end of that film.
Yeah.
There's a handful of films that I've watched in my life where I go, oh, you can make films, like you can do a film like this.
Yeah.
This is one of those films for me.
Yeah. While I remember very specifically that it was like it was a huge fucking deal. Like, it was such a big deal because it was the first high-profile R-rated comedy in a while. Like, the 80s had a bunch of those, and then it was like, oh, that's kind of fallen away a little bit in the 90s. There was a lot more family-friendly, PG-13, and then it was like 98, like, we're coming back with a vengeance. Because it wasn't just that it's like an R-rated comedy, it was kind of like the first big, like, gross out, quote unquote.
Do you think this is a gross out comedy?
Hey, listen, they made Dumb and Dumber. This film ought to be called Gross and Grosser. I mean, because these guys are absolutely fearless.
I think it is in its time, where it's like, compared to the next 5 years where you get to fucking, whatever that Jerry O'Connell movie is, where there's like a testicle bouncing around on the ground, like, do you remember
Movie 43?
No, God, no. No, there's some fucking...
It was Tomcats?
Yes.
She gets sick, so she hangs her head out the window and just commences to puking.
It's too bad you had to stop.
No, I was gonna.
That movie...
Comedies are my thing!
That movie is rough. I'll never watch that again. But it was like where the gross out became the point.
Yeah.
Whereas this one was just like, you know, I mean...
Don't make me start to argue.
Seeing a dick like that, as you do in this film,
yes,
was not the norm. Like, that was like a very big moment to see, like, male genitalia. Like, you see a lot more these days, a lot of full frontal, and God bless it. Casting agents, I'm ready. But like, to see it in that way, and then yes, to like see semen, like, you're not going to many movies. I mean, honestly, like, I would be curious how many films before this you literally see cum, like that aren't pornos, obviously. Like a mainstream film.
Yeah.
That you go to a theater and you see, and there's mainstream actors in it, and then to have like the young hot actress of her generation.
Yeah, she was the perfect.
Rub semen in her hair, and that's like the gag.
Yeah.
Put that on the cover. Like that, like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it was a crazy, crazy moment.
But that goes to show you the time, and that sort of leads. I mean, I do want to talk about it, or like we should at least mention it. The sort of insensitivities that we can look at now, but I think that just that time, people were more accepting of things. I don't know how to explain. Like, now, nothing can fly. If it's not for everyone, it's for no one. Then I think people just, for some reason, I don't know why, just like, general audience was just more accepting.
The thing that I remember specifically about this film is that everyone was offended by it, but it was so good. And that was what I read. I remember reading as a 14-year-old kid and all the critics' reviews. Like, they were mad at how genuinely good it was. Because they were like, fuck. Like, we should be pissed because this is awful. But like, it's really funny.
It's funny.
Like, it's so offensive. You're a piece of shit. But like you're gonna laugh. Like, that was the tone of everything. Where it's like, in spite of ourselves, we can't help but kind of love this because it's so funny.
Yeah.
And that to me is like one of the most interesting things about this movie. It's like, it was so good, it made a lot of people feel like shitty about liking it. Like, you know, that's like awesome. That's like an awesome thing that they did.
It's a fun, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's such a fine line. And that's what makes comedy so great, in my opinion. Like, it's so great that like, I'm never offended by jokes that don't work out. Because the intent is to make you laugh. And these things, like, I know, but I just sound like a monster, so I can't even finish the thought. Like, it just, you're a monster for like, oh, you shouldn't be able to laugh at this. You shouldn't be able to laugh at this. And it just gets you down a slippery slope.
No, not between you and I. It's just you and me here, buddy.
No one else watching. I don't think anything in this film is done in distaste, like, or in like mean-spirited.
Yeah.
But I remember talking about the Kingsman episode where you said like, oh, people thought this was mean-spirited.
Well, in Ace Ventura, we talk about the rampant homophobia.
Yeah, I don't think it's me. I don't think it's the intent is to hurt people.
Certainly not at that time. I mean, probably. Ace Ventura is a little sketchier.
You think the intent in Ace Ventura was intent to hurt people?
I don't think the intent is ever to like hurt people, but you're glossing over. I think Ace Ventura glosses over like that it probably will hurt some people. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like willful negligence. But this movie, yeah, I don't think. I mean, you're talking about Warren.
I expected that there would be a lot more controversy about, you know, a broad comedy like that with a retarded character in it.
Yeah,
largely.
Well, not only, but I didn't even think about it. But the guy who pretends to have, is it cerebral palsy? Like, I don't know, like the guy who.
Oh no, he just has a back injury.
Oh, I thought he had like a.
No, he's because he like. I don't know if that part's a little unclear to me.
I thought he had like a disease.
No, because he says like, oh, I threw myself in front of a car to have to go to her office because she's an orthopedic surgeon.
Oh.
And so, but then he's just like pretending forever. Like,
Yeah,
why not just be healed if you got really hurt? Like, I don't know. Anyways.
Just the part when he was like trying to get the.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I was like, oh, they're really.
Yeah.
There are people who are like this,
Yes,
who can't, like, this is not okay by today's standards.
Yes. We're talking about this now, but like Warren.
Yeah.
I thought like before that actor, W. Earl Brown, maybe, who's been in everything. He's in everything. Famously in Deadwood. He's a great character in Deadwood. He's in a bunch of stuff. He's going back forever. I remember seeing this movie and thinking that he wasn't acting.
The reason we got away with it and the reason it worked, people completely believed that I was retarded.
And the Farrelly brothers famously.
Yeah. Like
put a
they
lot
clearly
of different types of people in their.
Well,
in
and
their films.
it's the subject of several of their films going forward.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's like that area is like a little questionable now at this point, but like I think that stuff especially is not done. I want to be careful if I want to say this, but like mean-spirited. Like I don't see mean-spiritedness behind Warren's character or the portrayal of that. Like to me, it's like a very genuine, earnest, like endearing performance, and obviously even evidenced as by their later work, like we're referencing. Like they were never like making fun of Warren.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. That's the thing. Warren is never the butt of the joke. The only
I don't
thing,
think so. The wiener.
I was gonna say the
Have you
only
seen
thing
my wiener?
he says a couple things that like he shouldn't.
Have you seen my wiener?
Because of his, and you kind of, I don't think you laugh at him though. I don't think you're supposed to say, oh look how dumb he is for saying that. It's just like, oh that's just an inappropriate thing to say.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I just wish he wasn't, because you could still have a lot of the same jokes, a lot of the same bits if he wasn't, but I don't know what the correct.
We're going to the funniest thing. We're going to jump all over the place here. This is what Monique said after, because when she watched it with me, my wife, I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed I did that. She hadn't seen it in a long time. She maybe only seen it once or twice when she was younger. And we were watching it together, and she goes like, oh yeah, isn't he just pretending because he also loves Mary? And I was like, I fucking wish. Like, that would be the ultimate, like he was adopted.
Brother? Yeah,
No, he was adopted. Like, oh yeah, he was adopted when he was like a teenager, and it was just some guy who just like loved Mary and was working all the angles.
I mean, the Woogie thing is kind of like that, but
yeah, no, it was like everybody in her life is
yeah.
pining for her.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that as a story construct. Like you're just like, there's just those people out there that are just, there's something about them.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing I loved about the movie. To me, the strongest thing about this film, which makes it, to me, a good film, like a good film. I personally think it's a good film. Not a great film, but a good film, is how everything is so purposeful.
Yeah.
Every single thing in this film has leads cause to that, the end of hey, there's just something about her. We all love her. Like as I started to watch the movie, I started to just make notes. I was like, I want to just see how many little bits like come back. And then I stopped after a while because it's everything. It's every line of dialogue. From the first thing that she says, like, I'm a Niners fan. Like they don't just say things to say things.
Yeah.
None of it is thrown away.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the film. That's why I love Dumb and Dumber. It's why I love Kingpin. It's why I love this movie.
It's very smart.
It's very purposeful.
Yeah.
Lesser films just do dumb shit.
What would be funny to say right now?
What would be just funny? Yeah, like what if the dad says this right now
that's
for
funny.
no reason?
Yeah.
It's funny, just put it in. But everything is like a setup to paying off the ethos of the film, which is everybody's in love with Mary. Nothing is safe. This is the magnetic pull that this girl has, and she will change everyone's lives that she comes into. Like, all of that shit means something.
Yeah.
All of it.
Who's your favorite character?
Mary's dad is my favorite.
His stepdad, Keith David?
He's so fucking funny.
Keith David and Lynn Shaye steal the show.
He is so funny. I can't help, I mean, he shouldn't be my favorite character.
Oh, yes, he's great.
But he's so funny. I can't not laugh. Everything he says
Almost
is funny.
everything he says is
he says is funny.
One of the funniest lines of the movie. Just every little thing. Well, he's got a sense of humor. Just every little thing.
He's too funny.
Woogie's got a sense of humor.
The bathroom is that way.
Yeah. His intensity is so. He's.
Richie and I will always say that the bathroom is that way, just for no reason. Just be like, the bathroom is that way. It's so funny. But just like so endearing. She's like coming down the stairs, and he's like, "Oh shit! Would you look at that?"
Shit! Look at that. You better be careful, boy.
You better be careful, son. It's like so good. Just nails it.
One of my favorite parts. I think about. I love the small things. The small things make me laugh. Two things on this rewatch. One is that that first scene when he opens the door to Ben Stiller's surprise.
Yeah.
Of this, and his response is so like, what do you want? Like, why are you here? It's like, get it out. But what really makes me laugh is when Ben Stiller looks around, like you can see the wheels turning, and then he looks back at the house, like, is this the right house? But he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
The fact that he doesn't say anything is what makes that the funniest part of that banter back and forth.
Yeah.
It's just like, because you know what's going through his mind, but he can't even say it. He can't, because it's really funny. His look back is really funny.
I find as I get older, like these sorts of comedies that have these like iconic, huge sight gag moments, like I really laugh at, I felt this way about Ace Ventura too. Like I really laugh at the subtleties of performances more now. Where it's like there you can appreciate more, like a fine wine. You'd be like, yes, there's so much nuance to this overtly in your face comedy. Where especially if you have such talented performers like this film does. Love a young Ben Stiller. Like what a time. You know, like this is sort of, in my eyes, kind of made Ben Stiller into
I think so.
who he became.
I think
because
so.
he was obviously doing stuff before this and was a name, but like this is what sort of like launched him into like comedies, deep into comedies. Like it was.
I would agree with that.
And he's really good. Like I think he's really,
great in
really
this movie.
good. Like especially in those the braces, and he's just like that kid.
Yeah.
He's so fucking funny.
I don't universally love Ben Stiller in everything. In this, he is great. I think the casting of this is great.
It's pretty great.
I don't know. Matt Dillon is, I think, perfect for this. He nails
I want
this
to talk about
fucking-
Matt Dillon and Pat Healy because I remember in our True Lies episode being like, Bill Paxton is the greatest sleazebag of all time.
And I stand by that.
And I do as well.
What are we talking about here? Pussy, right? Absolutely.
But Pat Healy is right there.
I think he's very good. I think he's very.
He's right there.
The speech that we won't use all the words.
Yes.
And the thing where he's
introducing himself.
These are my coworkers. You can't tell me who to work with.
Yeah. Is that a little politically incorrect? Well, the hell with that.
Isn't that a little politically incorrect?
Oh, the hell with that. No one's gonna tell me who I can and can't work with, right?
No, the
that
delivery
is a great introduction to his.
And it's not funny
sleaze.
because he uses a slur. It's funny because he uses a slur and doesn't
realize
thinking it's like the in.
Yes.
My real passion is my hobby.
Really? What's that?
I work with retards.
And he says it with such like determined confidence.
Yes.
Like he practiced that speech in his head on the way to the driving range and being like, and then I'm gonna say, and she's gonna melt.
Yeah.
And that is what makes it so fucking funny.
Yeah.
His delivery of all of that is so good. And then he also later has the best F-bomb, my favorite F-bomb in history, when he turns around and goes,
And he's not listed as a Harvard alumnus.
Fuck!
Really?
that's just like a great F-bomb. He's very good.
He is very good. I think I think the cast is Cameron Diaz. I think is perfect. She looks so beautiful in the prom stuff, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, when she was playing a 17-year-old who's sick fuck.
She is not.
She looks a little too old in the later parts of the film.
I just think she's so. She is. It's her at that time. I think she's perfect, and I think she kills the performance. She's
great.
Embodies the woman like every guy would want.
Yeah.
I think like just perfectly.
Yeah.
I think everybody is great.
Perfectly casted. Cameron Diaz does do fantastic, and was just like, I remember reading at the time or not long after about how she was really hesitant to do this film because of the jizz.
I'd never read anything quite like it. And it made me laugh, and you just never knew what was going to happen next.
And she was like, I'm just gonna be known as the jizz girl forever. And she wasn't. Like, she made the right move. She did the film.
Yeah. Everybody was great.
Lynn Shaye, Magda.
Yeah, you got a Lynch classic.
She's a scene-stealing dynamo in these Farrelly Brothers movies.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the scene of that movie.
Yes, that will stay with us all forever.
That is the scene of that movie.
I'm gonna keep putting it in. So I hope you're enjoying this.
Yeah, she is. She's great. The biggest role of her, I think she earned it over Dumb and Dumber, Miss Nudie Born.
Nudie Born.
Not a lot. And then Dumb and Dumber a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, Kingpin a little bit more. And then this movie, she's like a real supporting character.
Yeah. Fantastic.
You like seeing her naked breasts.
I love all of it. She's so funny. Just like
when she, I was just gonna say, like when she, when she the Basic Instincts, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny.
What do you think about, so that dogfight scene is obviously very memorable. I can't tell what I think about the Three Stooges.
Yeah, I don't love it personally. I think it goes a bit too far.
I think I respect it more than I like it. Because I respect that they were just in that moment and they were like, fuck it. Like, we're just having fun. We're just trying to make people laugh.
Yeah.
But it is such a departure from like the rest of the
It's
largely realistic tone.
It's
obviously
too far. Well, I think the dog in general, like when Healy's shocking the dog, like it's, it's
but even that's real adjacent.
More realistic. But I think the dog in general it does go a bit too far for me. And I probably say that now. I'm sure.
Well, at the time that was like, I mean, that was like
awesome.
Everyone loved that shit.
Yeah.
And I think it's hilarious that he's like doing like those like drops on the dog, like the wrestling drops. Like that always makes me laugh. Where he's just like, they're in like a brawl, like a human to human brawl is very funny. The speeded out dog. How did he get the zipper to the top?
Let me show you.
It's a little stupid.
Yeah, but that is more believable than leg dropping a dog or whatever, or shocking a dog or doing this. It's more believable.
The con to showing it to us is that it's totally unrealistic. It's not believable. It's impossible.
Why would it be believable?
Because
to some degree, to get like your flesh.
No, you could get pinched once, but like to have a testicle out through the zipper and it's connected at the top and below the testicle, like that's not how zippers work. Like a zipper goes in a path. You know what I mean? No, but like, because there's like a couple, now I'm really breaking it down, but there's a couple We'll put a freeze frame.
Yeah, there's skin, right? There's skin.
That part's believable.
But just the
you have a ball out where it's zipped up
It
underneath
wasn't
of
a
it.
Full ball.
It was literally a full ball.
Not a full ball.
Yes.
It's just
what's
out.
that bubbling part? What do you think?
It's poking out.
Okay.
It's just it's just here. It's just
A, it's 100% a full ball, and
not
B,
a full ball.
even if it's not, you're not getting it up. It's a little silly. I understand it's funny for the sake of
How'd you
fun.
get the beans above the Frank?
Well, how the hell did you get the beans above the Frank? I mean,
That he would never put it together that Woogie is kind of a stretch. Chris Elliott does a good job.
Chris Elliott is
He's
great.
so fucking gross.
He loves it. He loves being gross.
That's maybe the hardest part of this movie to watch is like Woogie's face.
Yeah,
Especially
he commits. Chris Elliott, I think, is a really
he's for
good
sure.
comedic actor.
Yeah.
Everything that he does, he owns and he commits.
Yeah.
And he loves it. Like, he really enjoys making you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's his brand. It's who he's is. So he's always
Did
been.
you ever have a white head on your eyeball, Mary? I'm just like, all right, we can turn it off. Like, I don't need to see this part.
I love how it's so dismissive of his wife and children that he is. You can have them.
You love him so much. But then he's like, Brett, how about I get you to sign this pump? Something
Yeah,
nice
he's
for
such
the
a
wife
piece
and
of
kids.
shit. But that is Chris Elliott.
It's
Or
very
the
funny.
characters that he plays, I
Yeah.
should say. Not him as a person.
Lee Evans, very funny. The Tucker, the crutches.
Oh, yes.
I love her, man. Like when he becomes Norm. My name's Norm. I'm a pizza delivery boy. Just like you. I'm a fraud. It's very funny. He's funny. There is something about Mary.
There sure is.
She does great. Great to see a young Sarah Silverman pop up.
3-pound cock?
Yeah, you could see.
Love it.
You could see that comedy style.
He's good.
I love in the Sugar Pie Honey Bunch at the end and the end credits, which I just love when movies do that anyways. But like Sarah's like staring blankly at the camera, just like, you never call when you say you will. Like just like that. I think that shit's really funny. Like she's funny
Build Me
guy.
a Buttercup is like that. I feel like is another like iconic.
Yeah, it's a great sequence.
Like, yeah, I feel like that is a thing that people talk about from this movie as well. Like, you might not have seen the movie, but I forgot about that.
Do you
It's
know what
another thing.
You know what I thought for the first time watching the first time I considered it, is I think Harland Williams is playing the same character as he did in Dumb and Dumber. He's just like falling on hard times.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's your conspiracy
Yeah,
theory?
yeah, it's like the same universe, and because he does that, and I think that's like his own
he starts
way.
to like lose this.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
He does a great job.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
We should do Half Baked.
Hey, girl. You hungry?
Fuck you, nigga.
Let's do Half Baked.
That'd
We
be
should.
funny.
Yeah. The guy from Kindergarten Cop, the bad guy from Kindergarten, Crisp, is the cop in this movie.
Oh, you son of a bitch. Here you go.
Again, on this watch, I love the small things. He keeps like, he's so disgusted. He keeps like blotting.
Yes.
It's like, oh,
He does great.
He does. It's so good.
You son of a bitch. You're gonna fry.
You're gonna fry. I lifted that for
Hard Justice.
Yeah, yeah.
Hard Justice 2.
You sick bastard.
You're gonna fry.
So funny.
Insert clip.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah. Just insert whole.
My performance is what I'm talking about. He does
Yeah.
fine, but mine's what's very funny.
You're in Shayna's thing when you guys are talking about their sexual chemistry. Like, you're feeling that, right? Yeah. I am not.
No. I'm having negative feelings.
Yeah,
about it.
negative.
She does
She's really
good.
funny.
There's some chemistry here. You can feel it too, right?
I don't. I have negative feelings about it.
Yeah. They should put us in stuff. I'm talented.
It's Shayna's really talented.
Yeah. And I'll lose weight.
Shayna, if you're watching.
We love you, Shayna.
We love you, Shayna.
Yes.
Just had a baby boy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that number 2?
Leo. No.
Oh. Well, then it was like a year ago.
No. Very
Yeah?
recently.
Very
He's-
recent?
He's a couple months. 3 months?
That's what I said.
Yeah. Adorable.
He's 2 months old. He's 3 months old. He's 4 months old. I'm going to say all the ages.
You could just cut in the
it
correct
in.
one.
Yeah.
Cut in the correct age.
Leo's in 5th grade, and you're incorrect. All right, what do we miss?
I don't know.
What'd I miss?
Is there any
shout out? Full circle.
It's Keith and Ed. Well, I just watched.
Much like, it's funny that you bring up Bill Paxton and his douchebaggery. because I asked like a 10-year-old boy, is something I said quite a bit.
Quotes, huh?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Another thing I said quite a bit growing up is deuce and a half. About deuce and a half.
Yeah. Deuce and a half.
Deuce and a half. Deuce and a half is really funny. He is a great douchebag in this.
I think he's the funniest main character. He's very funny.
Also, another underrated bit that I wrote down is when you meet him for the first time, when he stands up, his pants are open.
Yes.
And no mention of why.
Yeah,
or what.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like, I love that shit where you just don't discuss it. You just don't mention it.
Roller pig?
Roller pig is fucking funny.
She's heinous.
Yeah, it works that way too.
Yeah.
They're like sumos in their culture.
They pay by the pound, like tuna.
Don't forget, it's a sumo culture. They pay by the pound there. Sort of like tuna.
This shit is crazy.
It's underrated sleaze. It's underrated sleaze.
It's very funny. It's very funny.
It is. Go watch it.
I was only boning you to get to marry. It's a great ending.
Don't know.
What are you doing?
That's my girl he's kissing.
But you just slept with me.
I was only boning you to get to Mary.
It is. And another thing that they set up throughout the film, I wrote it down.
Yeah.
She goes to him. She gives him food.
Yeah. Looking good, honey.
Looking good, honey. Yeah. Like it's set up. It's not like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Take note, comedic filmmakers.
Yeah. Just filmmakers in general. All right. 100th episode.
We did it.
In all sincerity.
A special thank you?
We're the greatest. Okay, no, yeah, you go. You take it.
No, yeah. No, we're the greatest.
Yeah. This feels gross.
I feel better.
It's like crossing streams.
Why is it so warm over here?
I pissed myself. Thank you, guys. Switching back.
Oh, I was gonna come hang out with you.
Yeah, I was gonna come hang out with you. You left. You blew it. Get in here. One shot.
One shot.
100 episodes.
Thumbnail.
Subscribe to us on Patreon. Thank you guys so much.
We love you.
We have a bunch of fun doing this. That's why we do it.
We don't do it for the money.
Yeah, or any other reason except for we enjoy hopefully making you guys laugh and smile and think about
climax.
movies. And somebody needs to be climaxing.
It's not gonna be me.
You're in the right place.